All right, y'all. Welcome back. Welcome back to another episode of your favorite WMMA podcast. Hashtag CB99 Talks. This is Combo Breaker 99, of course. Welcome back, y'all. Feels like it's been a minute. It's been longer than a week, but I've been around, of course. Y'all know I've been on the channel. Just been really, really extremely busy. So, I've been doing other things, but I've been coming through when I could. I've been trying to make some time when I can, but I'm back with another one, y'all. So make sure y'all hit the like and subscribe if y'all like for me to do these shows and continue to promote WMMA and give y'all a platform to come and, give y'all's feelings as well as hear my feelings on the sport of MMA or the women in MMA specifically. All right, y'all. So going all the way back, man, to last week, I want to talk. I just want to talk about some different things here, man, because so much has been going on, and the more I stay away, the more it piles up and piles up. And I'm like, dang, man, like they are really loading it down with some WMA as of lately, not just in the UFC, but, Bellator had like a couple of back-to-back cards. And then you had these other underground organizations just, putting on some good performances and signing the ladies up, everything from LFA to like Full Contact, this one organization, FCC, I believe, a lot of stuff going on, man. So, yeah, this episode here, I just kind of want to go back and pick out a few different fights and discuss some different points as far as what direction a lot of fighters are going. But, I just want to fill y'all in on everything I watched, like from Friday to last Saturday. It was like one of those fight overhaul weekends where I wake up hungover. You had boxing, Bellator, LFA, ONE FC, UFC. You pretty much had all of that. So, it was just one of them overloads, man. And before I like get into my topics, I wanted to just fill y'all in on some fights y'all need to check out. Like all the fights that stood out to me that y'all need to go back and check out. Well, first off, I know I turned on LFA on Friday, LFA 157. I got a chance to see. Let me see. There was Amber Brown versus Mark McMann, right? And then there was a prelims fight that I checked out. I can't even remember the fighters' names right now. Hang on one second, and I'll pull it up. Just give me 1 second here. LFA 157. Because there was 3 fights on this LFA card. Hold on. Let's see who we have. Here we have. Okay, Rachel Lippert and Mariana Piccolo. Yeah, that was a good fight. That was Piccolo got the stoppage win over her making her debut. So I got a chance to watch that fight on like the prelims. Then you had, like I said, Mark McMann and Amber Brown. Mark McMann got a decision win over Amber Brown. And then, of course, you had the main event, which we'll definitely focus on this episode. You had Melissa Croden taking on Jacqueline Cavalcanti for the bantamweight title, right? So I was watching all of those fights on one screen. And then I had Bellator on another screen watching Sarah McMann take on Arlene Blenko on her debut. And then you had the main event, the rematch between Liz Carmouche and Deanna Bennett, right? And then you also had ONE FC, Denise Zambawanga taking on Metz Barber, right? Denise Zambawanga, she won her fight. So all of that stuff was going on like 3 screens. I had ONE FC playing on one screen. On the laptop, I had LFA playing. Then on the TV, I had Bellator playing. Whichever one was turning out to be the better card, I kept switching, like rotating and saying, okay, let me watch this on the big screen. That's how I usually do, man. But yeah, it was a lot of stuff going on, man, just on a Friday night, so I was like trying to get all that in and, just trying to cover these fights for y'all. And then, Saturday was another one. We had the Bellator card on Saturday, 295. Then you had the UFC card. Then you had Tank and Ryan fighting. Like that was a card I didn't, like I said, I didn't pay for. Somebody else paid for that. Let me put it that way. Somebody else paid for that pay-per-view. I wasn't gonna pay for that one. No. Like I said, I already gave my reasons on my other channel about the Tank fight. But yeah, other than that, man, it was a good weekend of fights this past weekend. And like I said, just other stuff going on in the news too. As far as new fights coming up, I want to discuss in this episode. But yeah, who else was somebody I wanted to talk about in this episode? Oh yeah. I'll hold off on that though. I'll hold off on that as we get to it because we have some new signees in the UFC, and like I said, there's some other points I wanted to make. So yeah, just another good weekend. This past weekend, this weekend coming up, not a lot of action went on tonight because time of the recording this episode, it's already like late night Friday, and nothing was really on this Friday, as far as I know. Saturday, of course, we have the UFC card, which I'll talk about the disappointment with the bantamweight fights towards the end of this show. Next weekend's a bigger weekend, the 6th, the weekend of the first weekend of May will be a big one, y'all. So yeah, we're gonna tune into that. All right. So yeah, man, going back to LFA 157, man, Jacqueline Cavalcanti and Melissa Croden. Man, y'all know how I feel about that one, man. Melissa Croden, good fighter. Still in the early stages, raw stages as far as how I was gauging her as a fighter. Even when she won the PAEW FC belt, the Palace Athena belt, I wasn't jumping the gun saying that Melissa Croden needs to be in the UFC ASAP, right? I just seen some promise in her, and I wanted to see her grow from there, right? And that's how it is. You have to see, you'll see something early on in the fighter. That's how it is, right? But I take my time with the fighter. I don't ever rush them and say, oh, they're the best in the world or they need to be in the UFC right away when there's still a lot of growth. Like what I saw was just something that could be nurtured and she can build off of. And of course, sometimes you can lose along the way, right? And Jacqueline Cavalcanti, she just happened to be levels above her, especially when it comes down to her striking. Like you see the difference in levels of striking here. Like Cavalcanti, if I was working her corner, if I had a fighter like her, I'd say this is what I'm talking about when it comes down to a fighter with an IQ and natural ability when it comes to putting together her striking for MMA. She's not trying to be all boxing. She's not trying to be all Muay Thai. She's not all karate. Like the way Cavalcanti moves, she gets her shots off clean. She moves with lateral movement, then she resets, then she's back in your face, chopping your lead leg down. And after that, she's mixing it up with shots up top, head kicks, jabs. She's steady keeping a jab in your face. At the same time, she's got the big picture. She keeps that range where she can see everything coming. She can see just about everything coming. So hold on real quick. I just want to show y'all, just in case. I've been putting this picture up just so some of y'all can see like what I'm talking about. Like just the level of striking. Of course, it's not the video, but just the level of striking I saw in Cavalcanti made me say, "Oh, this girl looks like a little bit of a lower level of Amanda Nunes right now." You know what I mean? She's over here like popping them leg kicks off. She's sticking the jab out, and then she's popping the overhand right. And that first round with Melissa Croden, it was like she was just chopping her down. Chopping her down. The lead leg, touching the lead leg, keeping the jab in her face. And then as Melissa Croden steps in with her own right hand, Cavalcanti cracks her with the right hand, drops her. Croden gets back up, gets dropped again. As she's trying to get back up, dropped again. So it's like the first two were like legit knockdowns where she just got knocked down. But then like the other ones where she was trying to get up, they were just like brutal because Cavalcanti was just like knocking her down. Like every time she tried to get back up, and then she just started like wailing on her. I thought the referee was going to stop it. But shout out to Croden. I mean, she showed the durability. I mean, she's big and thick and she's strong. So she should be able to take these shots. But Croden was just a level behind, man, like a few levels behind throughout the fight, just very slow and not utilizing her size. You know what I mean? Like she wasn't turning herself into like this physical presence. She continued to strike from the outside. And you're dealing with a much slimmer, faster fighter here. One that's mixing it up with the striking, one that's actually, committed to variety and not just to a jab or right hand. Everything is coming at you. It's like bees, so when a fighter can throw the bees like that, Crow needed to turn into a wrestler or match the timing. She needed to come with the timing. When somebody's got the speed, you got to time them and throw that big shot down the middle and start fighting in close and making it dirty. Like Croden, being the size that she was, she needed to be the dirty fighter. She needed to be the dirty physical fighter at this point, and that's why I say like being well-rounded is very important. I mean, we do have our specialists out there, but being well-rounded is important where you have to switch that level and say, if this ain't working, we go to this next. If we're this big of a fighter, we gotta work on being physical in training. You know what I mean? Like we gotta use our size to our advantage at some point, because there's gonna come a time when we need it. We're gonna meet a fighter that's gonna be faster than us. Their form might be better, and they might be a better striker. So we have to be physical in there. And I think that Melissa Croden, she's got that wake up call. She found out how durable and how strong she is, and even like her power. But it's going to come down to being a much better striker. Just a much better striker that kind of changes up her form a little bit more and not be as predictable. Like the little bounce that she was doing, I predicted that, over and over. As I saw it, I was like, the more she does this, the more she's going to be prone to head kicks and just getting her lead leg chopped down. So I'd say like the first 3 rounds were just Cavalcanti putting on a striking clinic, and Croden came back in rounds 4 and 5, landing harder shots and backing Cavalcanti up. One judge had it like 50-45, clean sweep. Like I said, possibly, but I probably could have gave Croden at least 2 rounds or maybe 1 at the least, But what I saw in that fight was just, a fighter, Melissa Croden, that has to go back to the drawing board and really start to work on her form and, take boxing and kickboxing and take the best elements out of each one and mix it up. You know what I mean? Like, be the MMA striker that you need to be and not the best karate practitioner or best Muay Thai artist. You got to be able to use variety in there. And if speed's not your thing, you got to be physical, or you got to work on your timing. You really got to do that. So I think Melissa Croden will be back from this one. I think she will, but as the levels get harder, she's definitely going to have to be working on using what she's going to have to use her frame throughout these fights. She's going to have to use her frame and her size, because she's a big, strong woman, so I want to see more Muay Thai from her, Muay Thai clinches, more body shots from her, right? Those kicks to the body be vicious, knees from her, different things like that. So as competitions getting stiffer, I need to see more things like that, more physicality in there, and just overall more pure boxing and unpredictability from her. And that's just me from the outside looking in. Like I said, I think she's a good fighter, but it's definitely a wake up call if you want to take that next step up. As for Cavalcanti, I think that she could do to defend her belt 2 or 3 times. Like I said before, I did a video on LFA champions maybe sticking around to defend their belt, because it would be smart to rack up, that type of that type of experience on that level, and just say, you know what, I need to know what it feels like to defend the belt. I know what it feels like to get one, but how does it feel to keep it? Like, will I get lazy, or will I become protective, and will I become more dominant? That's what I think that fighters like Cavalcanti could learn from sticking around. She said she would be ready if they made the call, but I don't know if she is purely ready like that. But if she's bringing what she's bringing on a UFC level, I think that she'd be a good addition, though. Like, I think that Cavalcanti, I need to see more from her on the ground and just how strong she is, because, with the bantamweights that we have now, they might not be as fast, but once they get you to the ground, you're pretty much trapped. When you're dealing with the fighters like Konoskaya, Ketlen Vieira, even like a Mayra Bueno Silva, Stephanie Edgar, those type of fighters, they're big and they're strong. So Cavalcanti looks good on the feet, but if she can keep that up and have good takedown defense, I think she would be a good addition to 135. That's just my opinion, though. Like I said, it was a good fight. It's just one of them ones that you could go back and break down over and over and just say, okay, this is what you do and what you don't do in a fight, and what you could see from a fighter like Melissa Croden to build up and be, to be better at, if that makes sense, because I like her as a fighter. Like I said, sometimes when I see these raw talents that aren't necessarily the ideal fighter or the most well-rounded fighter, I can like pick them apart and say, okay, this is what they need. This is what they got to do. This is what they got to work on. You know what I mean? I like fighters like that sometimes, even fighters that I've seen in the past that even like when I see Erin Blanchfield in the very beginning, like I knew she would be something bigger because she just had that mindset. But there were times when I seen her in the beginning, I was like, oh man, she worked on her striking. Like, wow, she would be this and that. And, that's what she's doing now. So you seen like the development from her, right? So sometimes I like to just take these fighters and watch I'm not the type of person that likes to just bash somebody and say, oh, they're trash, or oh, they got to come with it already. Like in my mind, like I like to build a perfect fighter, or even if they're not perfect, I like to just say, oh, like, okay, this is what they need. Like this is what they need. That's what keeps my mind sharp. You know what I mean? And like helps me out when I'm training like kids and things like that. It can make me say, okay, this is what you need to do to get better, and it works. So that's just how I see it. Like Croden, yeah, has a lot of work, but I'm definitely not bashing her on that. Nobody's perfect, so I definitely want to see her get better and just really learn from this fight. You know what I mean? Really learn from this fight. All right, so another fight I wanted to talk about here with y'all real quick is last Friday's fight, Sarah McMann and Arlene Blenko. Didn't really give my thoughts on that. Some people asked me about it, and I thought it was a good fight. I like Arlene Blenko, but I like Sarah McMann too. And my whole take on this fight, when somebody asked me about it, I said, look, Arlene wins if it stays on the feet. Sarah McMann wins if it goes to the ground. This is classic striker versus wrestler. Okay, that's all this is. Sarah McMann at 145 is going to be dangerous. She's muscular, she's solid, and if she doesn't have to make a rough weight cut, she's going to be strong. Those are my words about Sarah McMann. Arlene Blenko, I said if she controls this on the feet, this is her game. She can't be flat-footed. She can't be too heavy on the front foot, or she'll get taken down. And she was. That's how it played out. Sarah McMann came to make a statement. Sarah McMann, I believe when she's turned on and ready to go, she's a dangerous fighter. You know what I mean? She can have her wheel broken. Now, I've seen in the Juliana Pena fight, but, if she can go in there knowing that she has the strength, and if she's committed to it, which she has been over the past few years now, she's 42. She's been getting better even with her right hand. Like she will try to strike her way in. She will try to land those right hands, because she even wrote a little piece about how effective the overhand right is for wrestlers, because the way they shoot in and take it. I picked up on that, and I was like, that's a good point. I think she started becoming more confident in her striking because of that, right? So Sarah McMann knew that even if she can't strike with this young lady, she can go in there and get her down and just maul and out wrestle her. And that's how it played out for the first 2 rounds. Now, Arlene Blenko, she almost got her Hail Mary. She did catch Sarah McMann and rock the hell out of her. She did, man. But Sarah McMann said, hey, you know what? I ain't going to even try to strike you. You're going right back to the ground. So, yeah, being a wrestler in MMA, sometimes it definitely benefits you more than being like a boxer, or a kickboxer. Yeah, like if you have that pure wrestling background, you can go on for days, because you can control that fighter on the ground. And that's why a lot of people in street fights like that, because they don't have that IQ. And I'm not putting down wrestlers. I'm just saying, like, wrestlers, they're ready to take you down because they're not going to dance with you. They don't really have the IQ to throw a lot of punches or, eat a punch to the face. They'll just want to get you down and lock you in, keep you immobile, and just start landing shots on you. That's the easiest way to do it, right? For a lot of these rough and rugged wrestler types. But boxing takes a lot of energy and IQ, to move around and commit to punches and maybe taking a punch and, being humbled by a punch and then still coming back after getting hit. You know what I mean? So Sarah McMann, having that level of wrestling IQ and then just saying, oh man, like if I get hit, all I can do is take her down. That's gold for her. She knows that that's all I got to do. Right. Yeah. Shout out to Sarah McMann. She did what she had to do. I think her Bellator debut was impressive. She made a statement. And another question I had, that popped up in my mind was, off of this performance, could she take Kat's title shot, or will Sarah and Kat wind up fighting in a title eliminator? And more and more I think about it, I'm like, you know what? Sarah McMann might come through there and take that quote unquote vacant title, or she might be stepping in front of Cyborg, or the matchmakers might make her and Kat fight. There's a lot of different options going on here, because right now, like I said, Sarah McMann, she came in and made a statement. She beat former title contender that fought Cyborg twice. She didn't fight no unranked fighters. She came straight into the featherweight division, said, let's take on the highest one you got. Could have fought like undefeated unranked fighters. Kat did that. Kat fought two. Then Kat fought Pam Bam that was ranked, and then she fought Lee McCourt, who was ranked, but still hasn't fought too many high level fighters. Like she never fought Julia Budd when Julia Budd was still there. She never fought Arlene Blanco herself. She hadn't fought Sinead Kavanaugh or any of those fighters, right? So kind of makes me wonder, like, will the Bellator say Sarah McMann is next, or will they make Kat fight Sarah McMann, since Sarah is probably going to be number 2 now under Kat, right? Because she did enough off of that win to say, hey, let me cut in front almost, right? Because that one win was almost a little bit more credible than Kat's for, right? And Kat's been in the Bellator organization for 3 years now and still hadn't got this title shot, right? So they could do that. And I mean, Kat versus Sarah, that's an interesting style. I always wanted to see that at 135 in the UFC, but it might be even more interesting now. I think Sarah looks strong, and Sarah's actually developing her striking. So can they make this fight? They could. They could, especially if the fight with Cyborg is still not on the plate. They could put that fight up, or if Sarah could wind up taking her title shot. We just never know, right? So I wouldn't mind. Either way, I really wouldn't mind. Like, if Sarah got it, okay, because I still don't understand. Like, Sarah, even with Sarah not in the picture, Kat's still not getting the fight. Like, what's the holdup? What is the holdup? I just don't see it as Chris Cyborg being the holdup at this point. Like, never seen Chris duck anybody. But at the same time, with Kat talking about the whole drug allegations, all of that coming back up, what's the real reason, right? I don't know. But I think Sarah, she would definitely jump in front and take it after making that statement, though, for real. All right, so looking at the main event here real quick too, Liz Carmouche, she continued her 6-0 Bellator streak. She's undefeated in Bellator. She finishes off Deanna Bennett, who came in overweight in the 4th round by arm triangle choke, right? I thought Liz Carmouche, she started off a little bit shaky. Deanna Bennett was striking her way in. She was actually having some good positions on the ground, nice ground positions, but, eventually Liz Carmouche outlasted her and took over. Good transitions, good maneuvers by Liz Carmouche on the cage, till eventually, she just wore down Deanna Bennett and finished her off, right? So now with this, Liz Carmouche, she, like I said, she's 6-0 now. Probably looking to defend her belt another time pretty soon against Ali Malay. That's not a bad fight, because I think Liz Carmouche, even though they're friends, they could put up a competitive fight. Liz Carmouche, I know she's fought friends before and like training partners before, so I don't really think that this would be a problem. Ali Malay wants to fight, and she knew that her friend was coming here into the Bellator organization. So if she was going to win, she probably wind up fighting, right? And I think they could separate friendship, right? Separate friendship, because they made friends being competitive in a competitive sport, right? So why not? And Ali Malay wants it. Before she retires, she's always talking about retiring, but if she wants to go out on one last big bang, got to face your friend, Liz Carmouche, right? I'd actually favor Liz in this fight because I think Liz would commit a little bit more, even using her strength. After looking at that kind of Watanabe fight, I could see Liz Carmouche being kind of a physical problem for her. Now, Lee Malay's hands are a little bit better than Kana, and they might be a little bit sharper than Liz Carmouche's. So her boxing might be the game changer in a fight with Liz Carmouche. I just hope that they don't go in there over respecting each other because they're friends. You know what I mean? I want to see them actually go at it and go for it all, right? So I think I did a video talking about like friends fighting friends, and I have no problem with it, especially if they're in the same, if they're in the same division and they understand from the jump, they understand what this thing is. It's competitive. It is in a way dog eat dog. So if that person has something that you want, y'all got to go ahead and kind of hash that out and say, let's talk, man. Like, we know that we're probably going to fight one day, but if we don't want to do this, somebody's going to have to move up in weight or not, right? Kind of like how brothers do. Or like for boxing, like Klitschko's, there's so many belts in boxing, they could just dominate dominate together side by side by not unifying, right? One champ can win the WBC belt, one brother can win the WBA, right? But in the sport of MMA, UFC or Bellator, there's only one belt. So for friends, you're just gonna have to say, we're gonna have to fight. We're gonna have to fight. But yeah, I was just looking at Liz Carmouche's record. It's impressive. Juliana Velasquez twice, Deanna Bennett, Kana Watanabe. She stopped her already. So she's got some good names on the resume. So we'll see what happens from here. All right. So yeah, Bellator had some pretty good fights. Might jump back and talk about a couple more here. But jumping over to the UFC. Here real quick. Let's see. But yeah, this was Liz Carmouche and Deanna Bennett right there, right? Let me see. Here's Kana Watanabe getting pieced up by Ali Malay in the first round, right? No, but seriously, let's see. I want to jump over to the UFC here real quick. Just talk a little bit about Yasmin Lucindo and her performance over Brogan Walker. Well, I've already broken it down, so I'm not really going to spend too much time talking about it. I just wanted to kind of talk about fighters like Yasmin Lucindo and fighters like Denise Gomes. I know I'm always talking about technique. I'm always talking about technique over here and, being dedicated to defense and, being disciplined and that factor with all of that. But what girls like Yasmin Lucindo, Denise Gomes, and Yasmin Jauregui, what they bring to the table right now, I think that type of energy is really, really needed right now for WMMA. Fighters that are really trying to go at it and go for that stoppage. The past couple of nights, the past couple of months, every time there's an Invicta FC card, there's rarely been any stoppages on there. And me, like I said, I enjoy a good fight. If it goes to the decision, if it goes to the cards, fine. But I'm usually looking at the comments, not even on my fight companion, but like I'm looking at the online chat for like Invicta FC. And a lot of people get fired up, man. They get pissed, man, whenever these fights go the distance, especially when it's long nights. Like I can get a little restless too, because I'm calling these fights with y'all. It's going on like 1 a.m, and we're going through the motions of a decision after decision after decision. We want some stoppages. I ain't gonna lie, I want some stoppages. So when you have fighters like Denise Gomes and Yasmin Lucindo, even though Yasmin Lucindo didn't stop Brogan Walker, she's still bringing that energy. You got to like this type of energy because they're really going after it. There's still a good amount of technical skill in what they do and technique, but there's that kill factor. There's that kill factor that these next crop of strawweights need to bring into the division to make it interesting again. Like strawweight's always going to be interesting, but you need these type of fighters like Denise Gomes, who's going to go in there, push the pace, and bully, right? You need those type of fighters that can bully, push the pace, and go for that knockout if it's there. Like we go back to Denise Gomes' fight against Bruna Brazil. I thought somebody was going to get knocked out in that fight. I was favoring Bruna Brazil, but Denise Gomes scores a knockout. And why? I mean, you can see it in her technique. Like she capitalizes off of what Bruna Brazil lacks. Bruna Brazil's tall, she's long, but she's got her hands down, no defense. So Denise Gomes is coming in with full power, and she knows that it's working. So why sit back and try to just put on a technical performance, right? If the opportunity is there, you go full head on after, right? And that's what she was doing. That was beautiful. Like Denise Gomes, I liked her overhand right. Like she took that from a lot of these boxers out here, that when you close the distance on a tall fighter, you have to throw an overhand right. And she did that over and over. And as it worked, she said, this girl's not offering nothing. So you know what? Let's go ahead and take chances. Let's go ahead and push the pace and let's beat this girl up. And that's what she did. Like she didn't say, oh, I'm gonna sit back and admire these shots and try to worry about what's not coming, And I think that's where some fighters they kind of lose the crowd. Like being technical is good, you know, if you're dealing with a fellow chess match or a chess player or somebody in there that's, you know, packing the power and you want to fight a safe fight like a championship fight. But sometimes these type of fights here, like Denise Gomes doing in Bruno Brazil, uh, or Brogan Walker taking on Yasmin Lucindo, you got to take those chances, you know, because that's how you eat. That's how you get called more, you know, and you got to put that type of energy into these performances, you know. Denise Gomes said, "Hey, it's there. I know this girl's bigger, but look how I put these shots together. She ain't taking none of this. She can't take this, you know." So she just continue to push the pace, close the show on her, right? Yasmin Lucindo didn't necessarily get the stoppage, but you could see it in her. And this girl, like I said before, she's only 21, you know, and at 21 years old, with over like I believe 15 fights in MMA, professional MMA, yeah, this girl's got the energy. You know, she's got that raw talent that the UFC strawweight division needs right now. You know, going back to 2014, like when you used to see Joanna and Claudia Gadelha scrapping it out. Jessica Aguilar, you know, scrapping it out with some of these girls like Claudia Gadelha. You know, they were really like going at it. And, you know, Marina Moreau in the division, Courtney Casey, like when the division was first starting out, even before they were in the UFC, like a lot of these girls are bringing that fight, you know, that tooth and nail type of fight where they're going at it, you know. And I think some of these Brazilian girls that are coming up, they're trying to bring that back. You know, Lucindo is bringing that energy. She's that type of fighter from the trenches, you know, fighting since she was 15 and wanting to make a statement. You know, she wants to be ranked, she said, you know, so she wants to move down to 115 and she wants to do this. And if you look at her technique too, man, you can see like this girl, as long as she continues to polish it up and not do too many special effects, I think that, you know, Yasmin Lucindo could be a problem, man. Yasmin Lucindo, she's got some, you know, she's got some hands. You know, she got a nice right hand and she's got a good eye on, you know, just measuring her range. So imagine when you start to put her in there with the right training, you know, with the right training partners and the right training camp as she matures, you know, she can work her way up into the top 10, you know. Her and Yasmin Haurigi might meet again in a title eliminator one day, you know. So hey, with fighters like this, you know, the opportunities are there for them. You know, the UFC is going to want to keep calling them. You know, the bonuses will be there if they get finishes, and you know, the stock will build up in them because everybody's going to want to tune in. They'll be on pay-per-view cards, like they'll be on the main cards with this type of fighting energy that they bring. You know, Haurigi, you know, she's got the country behind her, she's got the look, she's been modeling a little bit. She's about to fight Denise Gomes next. You know, so the UFC is looking at this. They like this type of war. They like this type of war. That's why they're throwing Yasmin Haurigi in there with these type of girls because they all bring that type of fight, right? We all want to see like the next challenge and the next triple threat, like me, a quadruple threat. But you know, if these girls can continue to bring like a fire where they just want to scrap and go at each other's throats for the top 10, so be it. You know, so be it, right? But yeah, I was impressed with her striking though. Yasmin Lucindo, like I said, she just needed to polish it up. At 21 years old, she can do that. You know, I think she'll be on her way, man. But speaking of, you know, other strikers here, let's see. Speaking of some other strikers, you know, Samiko Inaba, just going back and looking at her performance against Vita Arteaga, you know, this was a big step up and the other. But Samiko Inaba, you know, she fought a well fought fight, you know, well thought out fight, smart fight. You know, she's dealing with a dog in there, so she fought behind the jab. That's what you're supposed to do. Like Samiko Inaba didn't get the finish either, but she still fought with the intent to win, you know, and always stay ahead and be dominant. You know, and she did that off of that jab. Building off of the jab is very important. You know, just keeping that jab in the face and all of the opportunities open. You see her kick into the body. You know, you see her landing those beautiful right hands and just busting Vita Arteaga up, you know, every moment she can get. And with this type of pace, you know, with these type of shots that she's landing and, you know, just using some nice footwork, you know, she did this for 3 rounds, you know. So Samiko Inaba, man, I believe that she could be the next contender here at Bellator. You know, just maybe a few more fights to get the work in. Like she said, she wants to work before she gets like a title shot. I respect that. You know, she wants to keep going. Only 32 years. I mean, 32 years old, but she doesn't look like it. 32 years old, she doesn't look like it. But time time is ticking. But I really respect her grind and the fact that she has this type of cardio at 32. Man, like same pace from round 1 to round 3. Saying throwing the same with the same intensity. This girl keeps moving. She's got that type of gas tank. So Sumiko Inaba, the more and more she just keeps building, and they put her in there with fighters like Asergova, like a prospect like that, and then put her in there with a former champ like Juliana Velasquez or Bruna Ellen next. Give her 3 or 4, maybe 2 or 3 more fights, and you'll see her challenging the winner of Liz Carmouche, Alimale Macfarlane, something like that. Or put her in there with Deanna Bennett next, or Justine Keesh, give her that UFC veteran test, and let's see what type of hand game and takedown defense she has against those type of fighters. But off of pure striking, I like Sumiko Inaba, She's got that energy like them girls, like I said, throwing them piston-like jabs and just staying in the pocket and fighting hard and never letting up on your opponent. Like I said, she didn't get the stoppage, but I saw a fighter that was not letting up, All right. So, speaking of more flyweights real quick, I just wanted to fill y'all in, too, on another young fighter. Hang on 1 second here. Give me a second here. Another young fighter that just got signed. Let's see if I can find a picture for y'all, just so y'all can fill y'all in. There it is. There it is. Let me know if y'all can still hear me. Okay. This is just some quick news here. Just wanted to hit y'all with some quick news. Yeah. All right. So, Ivana Petrovic, she just recently got signed to the UFC, too, after defending her belt not this past weekend, but 2 weekends ago. And if you're not familiar with her, she won the belt in, hold on, get some info up here for y'all. Aries FC 14. Yeah, Aries FC 8 is when she first won the belt. And now she just came back to defend it for Aries FC and got a 3rd round stoppage. Hold on. 4th round stoppage. She won it by a 3rd round stoppage. Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, she won the belt by a 3rd round stoppage. Then she wins it by the 4th round submission in her last fight. And okay, she won the belt. Then she defends it once, but then the UFC calls him, just like Jacqueline Amram. So my thoughts on Ivana Petrovic getting signed, shout out to her. I just hope that she's ready for what's to come, because the flyweight division is not a joke. Real quick, let's talk about some of the pluses. Okay, the pluses I see in Ivana Petrovic is her durability, her ground game, her overall ground game. I think is very strong. Her takedowns are good for this level. Her jiu-jitsu is solid. Her grappling, her just her overall transitions to submission. I think she's pretty solid there. I like the IQ. She can find a way to win even when she's getting outstruck. She can throw hands a little bit. Her tenacity. She can keep going. She's got the gas tank. She can fight hard in these rounds even when she's down. So those are some of the things I like. Some of the downside, I would say, is still her defense. I think her defense could do some touching up. Still don't know how good her chin is. She took some bombs against her last opponent, who's a pretty good striker. So when she starts dealing with some of these fighters in the UFC, I'm kind of curious as to how she'll be able to withstand some strikes to get to a takedown. You know what I mean? So, we'll see how it goes. I mean, we've seen this time and time again with some of these fighters that come in a little premature. So I'm hoping she's one that was a champion in a past organization that understands the assignment, can say, okay, I got to grow in these departments. Like maybe if they move her the right way, she can work on the go. She can work on the go and get the on-the-job training that she needs. Hopefully they don't throw in there right away with like a Natalia Silva or something like that, or Karine Silva. They can give her some of the fighters she can kind of build off of. Like I think Ivana Petrovic could come right. I think with her grappling skills, she could come right in and fight somebody like Ariane Lipsky or Montana De La Rosa. Like, I know our Ariane Lipsky's gotten better, a little bit better, over the past year or so, but I think those two names would tell you how good she is. Like, can she handle like a big wrestler like Montana De La Rosa, or can she handle like a sharp striker and make the adjustments on the fly and take a Lipsky down and finish her like that? Like, if she can finish those two type of fighters with the level they're putting her on, she's young and undefeated. That would probably tell us something, because I wouldn't want to just throw in there with Mandy Bohm or Victoria Leonardo. Those aren't really tests for her at this point. They're not really tests for her. Well, Victoria Leonardo was a test for Mandy Bohm. I mean, she lost and she failed that test, right? So I guess, maybe. But by the time Victoria Leonardo fights Natalia Silva coming up in May, I don't think she'll be any test in shape for Ivana Petrovic at this point, right? All right, so yeah, she just recently got signed, so we'll see who she gets matched up with next. But I'm hoping the best for her, because I want to see a good bottom half of the flyweight division continue to stay, consistent like it is. All right. So yeah, moving on. Some good news for Chelsea Chandler, right? Shout out to Chelsea Chandler. She asked and she received. Chelsea Chandler wanted this fight. It's going down July 20th. She said, "Hey, I want to fight Norma Dumont. I'm going to knock Norma Dumont out in the first round like Megan Anderson." She said, "Hey, this girl, did she say she avoided the fight with her before? I'm not looking at the words right now, but I know that she's been wanting to fight like this." She said, "Hey, I called for this fight before and it didn't happen." Norma Dumont said that the fight doesn't lead to anything for her, so she doesn't want to take it, right? But the UFC probably saw that Chelsea Chandler wants this fight, and we like what Chelsea Chandler's bringing to the table. Then they said, you know what, Norma Dumont didn't really look the best in her fight against Carol Rosa, so why should she get a title shot against a featherweight Amanda Nunes, right? Featherweight champion Amanda Nunes. So they said, you know what, we need to put you through another test. And I think that, yeah, Norma Dumont has more experience, UFC experience. It's obvious than Chelsea Chandler, right? But when it comes down to it, to me, she hasn't really looked like this big threat to say she's like this far above Chelsea Chandler or a big threat to Amanda Nunes. That's my opinion. Like, I don't think that Norma Dumont looks like that. She beat a Danielle Wolf. She kind of struggled in this Carol Rosa fight, got put down in the third round, and, still struggled throughout. Well, I won't say struggle, but she still had some competitive rounds with the bantamweight. Not struggled again, but struggled with Macy Chiasson. That was a close fight. That was a close fight for her too. So I think Norma Dumont has some good skill sets, but there's times where she'll just kind of like, I won't say falter, but she won't stay committed and keep it going. Like, I feel like she could sit down on her punches and hit harder, but she doesn't really do it enough. Even like her leg kicks, like, she's got big legs. Like, she's got power in them legs. So I'm not seeing like the kill switch in there. Like I was talking about the girls earlier, like them raw energy girls. Like, I'm not seeing it with her. That's why I'm kind of like, what's the deal? Like, Norma Dumont wants to go in there and crack with Amanda Nunes, but you're not looking like a fighter that can crack yourself right now. Like, what kind of threat are you going to bring to Amanda? Are you going to take Amanda down? I don't think so. Like, are you going to box with Amanda? I don't think so. Like, when Amanda Nunes throws that right hand, do you think you can withstand that thing? I don't think so. So where Norma Dumont sits, she's just going to have to continue to build, or the UFC's going to have to build the featherweight division, like I keep saying, to give her the test that she needs, because it would kind of be just a default thing where, okay, she gets it. She gets the shot against Amanda Nunes, but there's really nothing to build off of, right? Like, there's really nothing like there to say she's that threat. She's just fighting the fighters that are there, but there's nobody really to put you in a situation to say you really are that good. Like, at least with, say, Manon in 125, she did go through the rankings. She went through each tier of the rankings, from the Leonardo to Mayra Buena Silva. after the Mayra Bueno Silva, she fought the Jennifer Myers, right? And after Jennifer Myers, she fought Caitlin Chikagan, so she actually did fight each level of fighter to say, okay, she beat her number 5, she beat her number 1, right? She's earned it. But like with the way everything is scattered at 145 and the level of competition that's obviously shown, it's like Norma fought a Danielle Wolf. Okay, what's that going to do for you? Carol Rosa drops you. What's that going to do for you? You would be better off fighting a Chelsea Chandler who has well-rounded skills. Like at least Chelsea does bring boxing and have power and, a ground game that's going to test you again before you can ask for a featherweight belt. So to me, I think Norma would be wise to take this fight before she tries to jump in there with Amanda, because just understand, like when you fight Amanda, you got to be ready. And if you ain't ready and you lose that fight, I don't know if you'll ever be ready. You're not going to be the same fighter. Felicia Spencer saw that too. Like, Felicia put up a 5-rounder with her, but hey, that fight was a killer for her. You know what I mean? Like, you got to be ready to absorb some big punches in there with Amanda Nunes. So I think for Norma, she needs to understand you got to take everything you can get. For Chelsea, this is a good fight for her to build up her stock, because she's the one who's usually calling these girls out. From Macy Chiasson, she wanted to fight Eileen Perez, Haley Cohen, Norma Dumont, but it's like you ain't really hearing nobody call, except the call. But for Chelsea, this is a good one, because I think it is the step up out of all these girls, and this is a big name with experience for her. And I think it's one where we'll see her utilize a little bit of everything. And if she can beat her, I think it'll be good for Chelsea to maybe get another fight and then probably go for that belt, for that Baron and that skeleton division, right? Because I think that would be a good name to rise off of for Chelsea, at the level she's on. And then she could fight like a Macy Chiasson. She could say, okay, I beat Macy, who beat Norma, who beat so-and-so, right? So I think that's how it probably have to work out for her. But at this point, maybe if more girls continue to just say, I want to fight at 145, a lot of them will just start to move in that direction. And I hope that's the way they move it from here on out. Like a lot of these big girls are having trouble making weight. Hopefully they can go in that direction. No. Right. But yeah, that's a good fight. This is going to be a good fight. Anytime somebody wants, it's going to be a good fight. When they make these type of call outs like Chelsea, it's going to be good. It's going to be good. She's never been in a bad fight. All right. But speaking of missed weights and featherweights and catch weights and bantamweights and so on, this weekend, of course, we've got Stephanie Egger taking on Irina Akseleva, the Russian Ronda, and we got Stephanie Egger taking on Jamie Lynn Horth. Both of these fighters are making their UFC debut. All right. And both fighters in the separate matches that are making their debut, both missed weight, and both of these fights are now catch weights. So I know this is another example of some lack of discipline, and another example of why there needs to be a featherweight division for some of these ladies, right? I know Akseleva has fought as high as featherweight in the past. She's fought as low as flyweight. But in my opinion, there is no excuse to miss by 4 pounds. I mean, 140 pounds, like, it should have been talked about already, like from the jump, like, yo, this ain't going to work out. We got to do this at featherweight or catch weight from the jump. But it was kind of like they just held on to it all that time and then just said, we'll try it the last minute. And if it don't work, oh, well. So now you have to forfeit some of your money, and it's a catch weight fight. And your opponent who made weight has to take on a blown up opponent, which is kind of dangerous to them, right? Shout out to Stephanie Egger for taking the fight, though, to keep it going. My thoughts on it, I'm just like, Akseleva knew the weight in the situation. And like I was listening to Miranda Maverick's breakdown on, making weight for women. It's a part of your job. It's a part of your job, and the job. And like I've said on my 2 cents earlier when I was on a live is that I understand women. I don't understand a women's body like that, like, because I'm not, right? I mean, heard it time and time again. Of course, I don't have the experience with it because I'm not a woman, but I know that, like she was saying, it being part of your job, it goes deeper than just trying to make weight right before the fight. It's a part of your lifestyle. When you're a fighter, making weight is part of your lifestyle, meaning that you should always be around your fight weight. And that means how by any means necessary, meaning cutting back on everything you eat, eating right, having the right nutritionist, cutting back on certain carbs, checking out your sugar intake, your calorie intake, all of that. You have to look at everything and say, what do I need to take out of my life right now to stay close to my fighting weight if I have weight troubles, right? If I have weight issues from the jump, if you're fighting at 125, you want to be walking around like at 130, 135, or 133, year round. And people say, how? Well, that just means you need to be cutting out the things that you crave, That's just that's really what it is. You just have to cut a lot of that stuff out. The same way I said earlier, like Floyd and Bernard Hopkins. I know they're men, but even Valentina, why you think fighters like Valentina, they thrive, and they thrive in their discipline because they're not putting junk into their body year round. See, some fighters that argue the weight issue, they're still trying to cram some of that junk in year round. You know what I mean? Like, but if you take a lot of that stuff out, like the toxics and drinking and all of that, you'll be closer to your weight. Again, I can only speak for me as a man, but from what Miranda's saying too, you have to tackle that and try to stay close to your weight by any means, because it's kind of like a lifestyle. It is a lifestyle until you retire. You can't really just go around throwing everything into your body. You have to stay as close to that weight as possible. So when fight, weight cutting comes, you only have 2 or 3 pounds to cut. You won't be on the scale trying to drop 20, 30 pounds of water, until your kidneys shut down and you're sick and you pass out on the scale, So I think there still is a good logical reasoning, a good logical way for these fighters to get closer to their weight. They just have to cut out those things that they crave, and from hearing what Miranda's saying and feeling like it can be done, hey, I have to agree with her on that. Because, you have her missing weight by 4 pounds. I'm like, wow, like 4 pounds. At least Haley Cohen was just like a pound and a half over, 137. Of course, she has to forfeit some of her purse too, in this catch weight fight too. But still, like even with her, she already knew that she was gonna be fighting. So again, she's a lot of muscle. So, their diets, they have to be on something where it's year round and, they can stay close to that weight. And, that's just my take off of what she's saying and off of the research I've done and seen. Like the ones that really stay dedicated year round, I think you don't really hear too much about it or too much gripes from them because, they're not taking in a bunch of other stuff into their body that they know is going to, affect their weight in the long run. But yeah, like I said, going in tomorrow with these bantam or catch weight picks, I'm going to pick Jamie Lynn Horth in this one and Stephanie Egger. I think that, they'll probably come in a little bit sharper and they'll probably both get the victories in this one. But as far as WMMA fights, that's all that's going on this weekend. Next weekend, we've got UFC 288 card. That's going to have Marina Rodriguez versus Verna Jandaroba and Jessica Andrade versus Yan Xiaonan. So it's kind of like a mini strawweight tournament. So I'll talk about that in the next show. Yeah, I'll talk about that on the next show next week, y'all. But yeah, that was pretty much all I wanted to kind of go through today. Just talk about some different things that are going on, some different highlights. Shout out to Chanel Dyer too, man. Chanel Dyer. Before I go, I wanted to say some fights I definitely recommend you check out this past weekend if you haven't. Definitely check out the Sumiko Inaba fight versus Vita Arteaga if you haven't. And check out Bruna Ellen versus Ilaria Wani. That was a good striking match too. Check out both of those fights on Bellator's YouTube channel. And check out this Chanel Dyer fight. Shout out to Chanel Dyer. This is her second professional MMA fight. She you'll see her in the left corner here. She scored a first round TKO over Kamila Simkova in a full contact contender. Yeah, so that was what FCC that I had checked out this past Friday too. Good show. Chanel Dyer's second fight. She's looking good so far. Just want to see her continue to grow. She can fight between 115 and 125. So yeah, Chanel Dyer, y'all check her out. She's a fight Muay Thai. Solid striker. She's action packed. 2-0 right now, but she's still growing, y'all. Yeah, check that fight out with FCC. And anything else that I wanted to say y'all need to check out? Yeah, well, Yasmin Lucindo in any fight. Check her out in any fight, right? And for y'all that didn't know, Tabitha Ricci will be taking on Jillian Robertson. That's going to be a good fight. I already did a video talking about that, so y'all go back and listen to that. I just wanted to throw that in because I had that up here. Jillian Robertson is trying to get into that top 15, and I respect her for that. It's about time. She got a lot of UFC experience, so you got to get it in. You got to get it in. All right. So what else, man? Still got a couple of minutes here of this show. I was just flipping through some shots here. We got fighters like Amanda Nunes and Juliana Pena, they're going into their rubber match, which I might talk about that on the next show. Because, I just kind of found it fascinating that Juliana Pena really, really believes that she earned that title shot again, man. And like I said, going off of performances, I'm like, oh man, come on, like Juliana Pena, you could have done well. You could have done better off by going off and fighting somebody else just to kind of build your skill set up and then kind of go from there, man. Like there was really no need to rush this thing, not to me, because Amanda's not going to come in like she did the first fight. She's turned up now. And I think Amanda's trying to retire with the belts from here, So, yeah, man, that's about it, guys. Let me know in the comment section. Yeah, let me know in the comment section who y'all got this weekend if y'all are tuning into those fights. But, yeah, if y'all got any questions about some fights to check out, y'all just hit me up. And I got some recommendations for y'all. Y'all want to say what's up with this fighter? Is this a good fighter? Just ask me about him and I can tell you whether or not to look out for him. So yeah, make sure y'all subscribe. All these platforms. I actually have to update the website of mine, cb99talks.com. It's a little behind. But yeah, it's behind a couple of shows. I got to update, the server and everything on my site so I can put all the shows back up there. But if y'all want to hear the show, y'all know where to tune in. It's on YouTube. And it will be updated on iTunes and Spotify again soon when I get the website updated. So yeah, subscribe to the YouTube channel, guys. And yeah, if you want me to continue to talk WMMA and promote WMMA, just hit that like button and that subscribe. And I'll continue to keep doing it, even when I get busy, y'all, because I enjoy it. So yeah, shout out to all my subscribers. Like always, Combo Breaker 99. I'm out. Subscribe. Peace.